Hey everybody, welcome back to Plum Figgy. This is Tammy. Alright, so today I am working on this cover that I had started, I think last year at the end of the year. My original intention for this cover was to use it for the Collage Weekly Challenge, which unfortunately I just did not have the time to do this year. Maybe I'll try and pick it up again next year, I'm not sure, but anyway, I had this cover sitting and I was like, well, it's a shame to, not use it. It's a nice big one. And so I decided that I would go ahead and decorate the cover of it, the cover of the cover, the front of it, with some scraps and yeah, just do a little collage. So that's what I'm going to work on today, and just now you saw me kind of rifling through all my little tiny scraps that are just handy on my desk at the moment, and mostly going to use some of the stuff on the right as kind of background. Well, I guess all of it would be background. This one looked really cool, and then I realized there that it was talking about skeleton and like the limbs of a skeleton, and that is not the vibe that I was going for with this journal. So we'll save that one for a Halloween journal. I do like the paint treatment that I did on this cover. However, it feels like it needs a little bit something more. And here I'm just showing you kind of what I'm using that's not part of my scraps. So this big sticker here came from the John Darien sticker book, which I found on Amazon. And then that picture down below of the Arc de Triomphe came from a pack of Tim Holtz ephemera. So here I've decided that I want to use this bunch of tulips as my main image on the front cover. And I wanted to go ahead and distress around the edges of that. But since it's a sticker, it's going to stick to whatever I use to put it on. If I put it on a piece of paper, obviously, it's going to stick to the paper. So this is the backing paper from the page that I pulled out of the John Darien sticker book. So I'm just kind of going to repurpose some of that there, which I just tore off one edge of, and I'll ink around the edge of that one as well, but starting with the tulips here. Truthfully, I did get this a little darker than I had originally wanted. I'm using the espresso color of Tim Holtz, so it's fine, but it was just a little bit darker than I had originally intended to go. So I went a little heavy on that piece as well to hopefully kind of make it all work together. And in the end, I don't know that you really notice that it's overly darker than you wouldn't know what my intentions were, I suppose, but in the end, I think it all works out really well. So this here, it was a scrap from some Tim Holtz papers. I could not tell you which one, probably the Halloween stack, because it came from, that other piece of paper came from that same thing. So to me, this doesn't look overly Halloween, so I'm good with that. But yeah, so here I'm just going to go ahead and start adding some bits and pieces all over, and go ahead and build my collage. Okay, so you saw me kind of playing with that photo. In the end, I just felt like it was kind of overpowering the entire cover, so I chose not to put it on there. So now I'm just kind of finishing up the front cover, and I have here some of the little random tickets and tags and things by Tim Holtz. That's a really great little pack of ephemera. If you ever want to use something like that, they're really handy to kind of fill in little bits and pieces in your collages, kind of like what I'm doing here. And of course, I'm using the rule of thirds, or 3, or odd numbers, I guess, in decorating. So I'm going to do 2 in the upper right corner and then 1 in the lower bottom left corner. So just going to add this now, and then I'm going to focus now on the back cover, which I will actually use that photo in. So gonna just continue doing some collaging here. So this is just some tea-dyed paper that I had some strips of, and just kind of wanting to cover up some of the greenish color and the gold. It just doesn't quite go quite right for me. So yeah, I liked it as part of the background, but as the only background, I felt like it just wasn't quite right. So here I'm kind of struggling. I had pulled these pieces out initially to use on the front of the cover, but ended up not. And that is some ephemera from Park Lane from Joann's. So you can find that in their scrapbooking aisle. Forget, maybe it's next to where the journaling stuff is. So they got some really nice little packs of ephemera there. So here I'm going to just use a bit of that along with some of the Tim Holtz photograph, and we'll kind of finish out the rest of this cover that way. Okay, so around here, I'm kind of just starting to struggle a little bit with what I want to do. For some reason, I cannot get it to really work the way that I'm seeing it in my head, and I'm just kind of grasping at straws, just pulling out everything I can find here. This is a little piece that had a bit of like a flower on it, and I thought it worked pretty darn well to kind of incorporate that sort of theme that I had started from the cover. And then here, this little bird was from some of that ephemera I just mentioned from Park Lane pack, and something I had originally planned to use on the actual cover of this journal. But in the end, I liked how it worked with the photograph. The photograph was really cool, but I felt like it was a bit large. It was just kind of overtaking everything. Even though the subject in the photo was really small, the people were really small and hard to make out. The whole photograph is pretty large in comparison to everything else. So that I think was a bit of a struggle for me too. But here I'm just kind of playing with putting pieces behind and on top of this photo to kind of make it seem like it's all part of the whole piece itself, I guess, if that's what you want to call it. But taking all these little bits and pieces and turning it into a whole is kind of what my goal is here. And so just adding this little piece here because I just felt like there was that weird little void of space above the photo, and just again trying to incorporate some of this background into everything I'm doing here. Thankfully that the spine cover fabric wasn't fully glued down right there, so I was able to kind of tuck it underneath there as well, which I think really helped things. So here you can see the bird is kind of overlapping on the bottom, and then I was playing with that other piece that's kind of overlapping on the top, and now I'm putting it on the bottom. So that is something, if you're kind of struggling with a collage, maybe try and play around with it like that. It can really make a big difference. It's small and very subtle, little changes, but in the end it can kind of make a really big difference in how the whole collage looks. So yeah, and then in the end I was like not really happy with that bird for whatever reason, and this is another one that I have pulled out, which was transparent, and it had a lot of sheen and shine to it, but I really liked the color of it a lot more than the other one. The other one just seemed a bit dark and dreary, and this turquoise or aqua colored bird kind of just stood out to me as being a lot more bright and cheerful. So went ahead and went with that instead, and then this one is being difficult because it's vellum, but trying to glue that down and make it stick. And I think that's it for this front and back cover. Maybe I add one more thing. Yeah, I do. This is another transparency piece. Oh no, this is from Tim Holtz pack of ephemera, this one and that bird, I believe. So yeah, just adding a few more little transparent pieces of bits of ephemera to kind of finish it out, and essentially that'll be it for this one. So I really appreciate you guys joining me today. I had a lot of fun working on this cover and excited to share with you what's coming up next to finish out this journal. Thanks again, and bye for now. Bye.